Hello and welcome to MAA, welcome to week 9 part 2, and we're going to look at planning and operational variances. We're going to look at the answer to the Word document attached to this series, presented as always by Dr. Martin Roberts. Okay, so there's the question. The thing to do to recognize that we are looking for planning and operational variances is down at the bottom. Okay, is that you see that your prices change. Okay, once you see that, you know we're looking for planning and operational variances. Okay, so the first thing to do, it does ask you to ask for lots and lots of variances. The first thing to do is to calculate the overall variances. Okay, so again, that's just simply sales, materials and labor. I'm not going to go into these because you should be able to do them no problems yourself now. Okay, and you should be able to work out where I've come from with those flexed budgets. Is that it's 1,000 units times by its selling price times by its total material cost times by its total labor cost or labor standard. And then you take that away from your actual costs, and then that gives you a variance. The good news is we've made a lot of sales, but we're losing equally on material and labor. So now what we're going to do is we break that down further, and we will look first at sales, then materials and labor in that order, and we will look at these variances in detail, going all the way down to planning and operational. Okay, so if you remember, the sales overall variance was negative 116,000. So then the nice thing is there isn't a great deal to worry about in that the volume doesn't change. So now all that we're doing is we're looking at price that we could have sold at. So now we can go straight into creating a planning and operational variance. So again, like I said, be careful. Be careful with this at the top when it comes to planning. When we come to planning, all that we're doing here is we're looking at the sales price. So we had a budget of 200. We felt we could have sold it for more. Okay. So the good news is if we could have sold it for more, we would have generated an extra £130 per unit. Times by the number of units means that our revised price, potentially, we should have budgeted for £130,000 more coming into us. When we look at our actual versus our revised, well, it's slightly bad news, but not the end of the world. So we're slightly less than our revised, and what that means is, okay, we made a loss, but overall we've done very, very well. We've done well against what we thought we were going to do and against our new revised. So we haven't really lost that much in terms of what we thought we could have we sold it at. We very nearly did. And like it says, be careful, as things are the wrong way around. Just be careful with that budget versus revised. And we'll go through and do that. And then there you go, look, there's your two variances. Adding back to your overall variance, you have a check. Brilliant. Okay, so we'll go into materials, and remember that our overall variance was 94,400 loss. And then what we do is we do our usual price and usage variances, and again the two add back to the 94,400. So again, let's have a look. That's our actual price, that's our flex budget. Okay, and so that's how much actual kilograms we were going to use. We times it by our price, and then therefore we should only have paid £108,000. We've actually spent that. There's the big loss. Then we go again into usage. So we used 10,800 versus 10,000. An adverse variance, give it a value, and we lost in what we used as well. So we spent more than we should have done. and we actually wasted it. So really bad performance in materials. Let's break that down. Try to remember that 94,400 and these two numbers, the 86,400 and the 8,000, and we'll go and break them down into planning and operational variances. Okay, so there we go. Our total materials was 94,400 loss. Then we break down into price and usage, which add back to the total materials. And then what we do is, like I said, is that we can break our price and our usage into planning and operational variances. So there we go. And this is what I'm talking about it being the wrong way round. This is cost. Our budget was £10. Our revised cost is 17. So therefore we're thinking it's going to get worse. It's going to cost us more. And in fact it does. We really didn't plan this very well. Okay, and against our actual versus revised costs, well, we still spent more than that. So we really have got hit very, very hard by our price. Okay, so moving on, labour variances, we do exactly the same. We do rate and efficiency first. So there's your total labour variance, there's your rate, there's your efficiency. Again, rate is how much you pay, and efficiency is how long it's taking you. And we've actually gone quicker here. So we've got some good news out of all the bad news. We've paid more for our workforce than we thought, but we've actually moved quicker than we thought we were going to do in terms of producing our number of units. Again, give that a value by your standard, and we add back to that minus 21,600. So moving on, this is now the planning and operational variances for labour. There's your total labour variance, there's your labour rate and your efficiency adding back to your total labour, and then again we break down into our planning and operational, which finally gives us a check to our overall variance. So let's go through it. Our planning was that we planned to pay everybody £8, but we've ended up paying £12.50, and what that could be, it could be extra overtime, or it could be that there's people have wanted a wage increase and we've had to pay it unexpectedly. Okay, or we've had to get temporary labour in, and that always costs more than the workforce. And so what you've got, again, be careful, it's the other way around, because you're thinking it's getting worse in terms of cost, it's a negative. And so actually paying your people has really, that's been the problem with your labour variances. Now in terms of what actually happened was that we did save slightly on what we expected, so there's something going on there, maybe again less overtime than we've planned. Alright, so then what happens is, as you can see, the two variances, planning and operational, add to your labour rate variance. And so let's just quickly have a look at our efficiency. So the nice thing is in terms of how long it took us, there was no difference between how long it took to make, which explains potentially the favourable variance. And so we've got no planning effect here. Now in terms of operational, we've already talked about this, is that we have saved money in terms that it took us 200 hours less than we expected. So there you go, there's the 1600 that we expected. So add them all together, there's your check for your overall variance. So there's your minus 21,600 sitting right at the top. Yeah, so there you go, your labour rate is equal to your planning and operational variances for labour rate, and then your planning and operational variances for efficiency add back to your overall efficiency, and then add back in total to your total labour. Okay, so it's as simple as that. Again, it's a formula. You've got to think when you do planning variances, budget versus revised, actual versus revised, budget versus revised, actual versus revised, and just remember for each one we're exploring different topics. So for labour rate, we're looking at cost, and for efficiency, we're looking for hours. For materials, you think about price, you're looking at cost, and then for usage, you're looking at planning and operational variances based on usage, on kilograms maybe. That's the most common item, but it can also be things like litres. Alright, so I'm going to leave it there, nice and simple, and that is planning operational variances done for you. Please just practice your seminar questions, and it is always just a question of practice, and that will help you get a lot better. Okay, take care, see you soon.